What's going on, guys? Phil Daru back again with another video. Today I wanted to give you an overview of the condensed conjugate method and also want to show you what I actually do. Now this is basic overview. I get into more detail in my mentorship program and you can check that out in the link below. I go over more details on my principles, my systems, all my methodologies, and also the protocols that I use for each individual methodology so that it can enhance performance with my fighters. But today I want to go over basic overview of the condensed conjugate method. I know I talked about it in past videos, but now I want to give you guys an insight on how I actually structure it so that it can develop higher levels of performance for the fighters itself that I work with. So first and foremost, I'll go over the structure of training, okay? So the condensed conjugate method overview, we're talking about a 12-week macro cycle, okay? Or if you want to call it a mesocycle, because again, it's not that long, but again, fighters' camps aren't that long, right? We usually start 8 weeks out, but I like to get them 12 weeks out, ideally, so that we can develop a base of general physical preparedness and overall structure of the body so that they can be prepared once they start the rigors and the hard intensity training sessions inside skills and technical training inside the camp. When 8 weeks starts, you're starting to spar, you're starting to do heavy rounds in wrestling, things like that. So I need to make sure 12 weeks out that they're ready and capable of doing those particular intensity training sessions with the highest optimized potential, but also we're minimizing the risk of fatigue because they are, in a higher level of fitness. So again, so the structure of training, right? It's a 3-day-a-week split, okay? So first we're gonna be doing a condensed method. So conjugate method would be primarily consisting of a dynamic effort and a maximal effort and a repetition effort method. So with that, I condense those into a 3-day-a-week split where you're working on dynamic effort and maximal effort in one day. But the way we get away from overloading the central nervous system, I break it up into quadrants. So if you're gonna do a maximal effort lower, you're gonna do dynamic effort upper, and then we switch it every 72 hours. And I'll talk about more in a minute, okay? So 3-day-a-week split, right? It's constant variation of those maximal effort exercises that we call tester lifts. The tester lifts are going to be what we use that have high correspondence or relevancy towards the fight game, all right? We use a 3-week pendulum wave for the dynamic effort so that we can wave up the intensity so that we can avoid accommodation and so that we don't overtrain or detrain the specific adaptations that we're trying to acquire. All right, so we're gonna be going up from about 50% all the way to 60% and then back down again in those 3-week pendulum waves, okay? Again, we're gonna use tester and builder lifts like I talked about in the past. The builder lifts are going to be predicated towards what we see break down in the body when you look at the tester lift, whether that be a Zercher squat, whether that be a sumo deadlift. I'm actually seeing what breaks down from a muscular standpoint, from a movement quality standpoint, and then I'm gonna hammer that home with some builder lifts or some supplemental exercises to help increase the potential to be better for those tester lifts that have that high correspondence to the sport, okay? We are gonna follow that 72-hour rule, so because the exercises and the overall methodologies are very intense inside the training session itself, we need to make sure that we have 72 hours to recover the nervous system before the next training session. Okay, so for me, my guys do a Tuesday workout and then they will do another hard intensity workout on Friday. All right, we can do some Gpp work for the 3rd day, either Wednesday or Thursday, and they'll probably do some conditioning on Saturday. This all goes in with the schedule of the skills training. We gotta make sure that we're coordinating that around that time so that we're not overtraining them and we're managing fatigue, okay? We're also gonna use the high-low method, okay? So the high-low method is for energy system training. This is made popularized by Charlie Francis. And we're gonna use this to make sure that we enhance qualities of energy system training, but also we're managing fatigue again. So let's say, for instance, I had a video on this prior, how to manage your energy system training to match the skills training. You could check that out. I'll probably put the link in the description. You could check that video. And basically what I did there was I structured out the weight room, or I should say the energy system training or the conditioning, so that it matches or it goes with and it doesn't overload the nervous system or the body in general, so that you can keep progression going without fatiguing the body throughout the weeks. okay? Again, GPP work, or general physical preparedness. We wanna make sure that the fighters still maintain a solid level of fitness overall so that they don't get hurt, they don't get injured, and so that they're ready and capable of recovering with all those other training methodologies and overall systems that they have to do inside the camp, okay? We're gonna use 4 major special strengths, okay? You're talking absolute strength, speed strength, explosive strength, and strength speed. We're gonna utilize all these special strengths so that we can enhance the quality of performance inside the camp so that when they go to the fight, they're ready, there's no gaps in the system, okay? Then we're gonna use special exercises. Now those special exercises are going to be those builder lifts or supplemental lifts and accessory work that is going to enhance the quality of the athlete from a balance perspective, right? So again, I talk a lot about posterior chain, right? So posterior chain is upper back all the way down to the hamstrings. Because fighters are anteriorly dominant, right? They throw a lot of punches in the anterior chain, so their shoulders, right, their pecs get, shrunken in or tightened, and they get this kyphotic posture, right, where they're rolled forward. You see like a Conor McGregor is here, right? Lats are tight, shoulders are rolled forward. So we want to make sure that we're balancing out the body and pulling that back, working on those postural muscles so that we can reduce the risk of injury and also balance out the body to an extent so that we don't get injured. But again, we want to ride that line of not hindering the biomechanics of their skill set or their overall talent and biomechanics of the sport, okay? So again, we're going to use those special exercises to enhance those qualities and make sure that they're strong throughout the entire body globally so that they can produce force in all ranges, okay? All right, so the overall layout of the program is going to be 12 weeks out. We're going to start that work, okay? They're going to do 1 max effort upper, 1 max effort lower each week. Same thing goes for dynamic effort upper and dynamic effort lower, all right? Again, like I said, they're going to do upper and lower on the same day, but we're just flip-flopping or doing dynamic and max effort in different quadrants, all right? Explosive strength is going to be done every day. So what is explosive strength? It's the ability to produce force fast. So again, we're going to be working on power, explosiveness, each and every day throughout the camp so that they do not deteriorate or delineate those overall adaptations and so that they're ready and capable of sparring and doing their grappling and things like that with high efficiency. Again, we're going to be doing 1 day of GPP just for joint restoration, for recovery, but also bringing up any weak points that we may see. So a lot of sled drags, neck work, grip work, posterior chain, core, rotational strength, things like that to help with the overall adaptations going into the camp, but also making sure that we have that structural integrity and balance in the body, okay? Again, conditioning is concurrent and it's integrated into the training session. Again, so if we have limited time, again, like I said, I only have really 3 days, maybe even sometimes 2 days a week with my fighters, so I have to manage my time and maximize what I have when I get them. So in order to make sure we maintain those adaptations, in order to make sure that we maintain that specific strength, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use some conditioning after the strength training session so that we don't throw an organism in 2 different directions. So how do we do that? We do things in the same time frame, right? So if I do a max effort lift and it takes me about 3 to maybe 6 seconds tops, I'm gonna take those 6 seconds and I'm gonna use that same type of time frame and use it as a conditioning tool. So they'll maybe do 6 seconds on, 20 to 30 seconds off if we're working alactic capacity, or some anaerobic work where we're working 10 seconds on and maybe 60 seconds off with active recovery, because again, the fight game, you want to be able to repeat bouts of high intensities for a long duration. And that's really how you're going to see true dominance inside of a fight, okay? We want to utilize accommodated resistance for that dynamic effort. Again, with the accommodated resistance or bands and chains, the reason why I do that is because it eliminates bar deceleration. It allows the fighter or the athlete to produce force throughout the entire range of motion, and we're also getting an overspeed eccentric. So faster down, faster up, right? If you throw a basketball down, if you throw it down softly, it doesn't bounce as high. But if I throw it down hard and fast, it's gonna bounce up high. It's the same concept you're doing when you come down fast in a bench press and you explode out of there. You're using those muscles and you're using the stretch shortening cycle, the tendon stiffness, to allow for overall explosiveness. So again, faster down, faster up, all right? Okay, so we're gonna use 4 to 6 base compound lifts in the tester lifts that have high correspondence, whether that be a Zercher squat, whether that be a floor press, whether that be a sumo deadlift, whatever the case, I wanna use those 4 to 6 compound lifts so that I can have that correlate into the sport and so that we could see true overall progression and have a metrics of progression when it comes down to increasing load, okay? We also utilize breath holds for interval hypoxic training, okay? So what this does is that gives you more of that CO2 saturation and overall oxygen utilization. When I hold my breath while I'm doing a fast explosive movement or some type of sprint movement, what I'm doing is I'm increasing mitochondrial density, which basically means your mitochondria helps with aerobic capacity. So if I can increase my aerobic capacity, it's gonna obviously help me have a baseline of readiness throughout the entire energy demands that I use inside a fight game. When you're talking about mixed martial arts, it's a mixed bioenergetic demand sport. So I have to make sure that all these energy systems are worked accordingly, but it doesn't work if you don't have a large aerobic base. So again, we use those breath holds to increase that aerobic base, to increase those oxygen utilization, and to increase the CO2 saturation, okay? We want to train according to the readiness of the athlete, okay? I'm not going to give an athlete a specific exercise or modality if they do not have the prerequisites to do it. Don't get married to a specific exercise. Listen, I use Zercher squats. It may not work for people, you know, that can't do it, right? That don't have the joint prerequisites, that doesn't have, you know, the coordination to do it. You have to find the exercise that have high efficiency and has total effectiveness. Now, I'm not saying that you don't get better at a specific exercise. If you want to learn how to clean, next we want to make sure that we're following Parkinson's law to manage our time, all right? We want to make sure that we're utilizing our time efficiently and we're using some sense of urgency to get the things done. We only have about 45 to 60 minutes, and you don't want to exceed 70 minutes because, again, serum testosterone actually drops after 45 minutes, and overall adherence to the training process kind of diminishes after that. The focus starts to decrease, so we want to make sure that we're getting them in, getting them out so that they can recover for the next training session. So again, we follow that Parkinson's law. We give them certain time frames to finish dynamic effort, max effort, repetition, and conditioning so that we know exactly how long the training session is actually going to last, how long we have from a resting standpoint, and then how long we have to finish the entire methodology for a particular stage of the training, all right? Okay, so getting into the methods of training, right, we want to follow through the physics formulas, okay? So force equals mass times acceleration, and power equals force times velocity. So what that basically means for me is that I want to make sure that we're working those methods of training so that we can enhance those specific qualities of training, okay? So first and foremost, max effort, okay? We're gonna be working on force, max effort, okay? Again, every week we constantly change the exercise to avoid accommodation. If you keep doing things over and over again, you're going to detrain, you're going to lose what you've gained. So you wanna make sure that you're constantly stimulating it and making sure you're getting new adaptations, but you're not accommodating to that specific exercise or modality, all right? We want to work our way up to a heavy single, double, or triple, all right? So maximal effort, again, that's going to be about 90+%, or if you're using a velocity-based trainer, that's going to be about plus 0.4 meters per second, so anything higher than that, okay? You want to use lifts with the highest correspondence to the sport. Again, we're going to use those tester lifts that have that relevancy so that it'll carry over inside the fight game, all right? We want to focus on what you actually suck at. So again, if something breaks down, whether that be your low back, whether that be your hamstrings, whether it be you have weak glutes, we want to hammer that in and find out what we need to do from a special exercise or an overall supplemental lift to enhance the quality of the tester lift in the max effort. So again, using max effort for an assessment tool each and every day, all right? Okay. Dynamic effort, right? So now we're looking at velocity and overall acceleration, all right? We want to work on speed. We want to work on being explosive here. So you're going to use base compound lifts that correspond to the sport again, right? Based off of the tester lift. Again, I like to utilize a Zercher box squat or an SSB box squat with a floor press or a close grip bench press. These are going to be my main lifts that I utilize for the dynamic effort that have that correspondence and overall carryover to the tester lift, which will carry over into the fight game. all right? Again, we're gonna be working on 3-week pendulum waves, waving from 50 to 60% if you're talking about speed strength, and 30 to 40% if you're talking about explosive strength, okay? So you're gonna wave up in intensities and then back it down, okay? Submaximal effort, okay? Now this is that repetition effort. This is where you try to build up structural integrity, where you try to build up joint restoration, where you're building up hypertrophy in the right areas. Check my last video about hypertrophy for MMA. I'll put that link in the description as well. Okay, but submaximal effort, you're working through general physical preparedness. We want to work on those weak muscles. We want to work on, you know, the posterior chain, weak hamstrings, weak glutes, weak adductors, abductors, things like that, and hammer that home when you're talking about repetition. So you're going to be working in the 10 to 12 to even 20 repetition range. All right. We're going to use supplemental lifts to improve on structural balance. Again, a lot of my fighters and fighters in general are anterior dominant. They're kyphotic in nature. They're rolled forward. They use their anterior delts a lot. So again, we want to make sure that we're working those postural muscles and pulling that back so that they have overall balance and symmetry, and we're also creating stability back there to create force going through the sagittal plane and through other planes of motion, okay? We're going to use accessories to bring up those muscles for the sport-specific performance. Again, I've done videos on this in the past. You can check it out. But again, I usually make sure that we have strong upper, mid, and low back, glutes and hamstrings. Also, we have a strong oblique sling. So from the anterior serratus all the way through to the obliques on the other side, hip strength, core strength, things like that. And then also we want to make sure that we have grip and neck strength. That's going to be a key factor too as well. Okay, so again, this is kind of just a base overall view of what the condensed conjugate method is about, what I use for my fighters. If you want to know more information on that, again, click the link below to see how to get involved with my mentorship program for all my coaches out there that are trying to enhance the quality of their athletes. And again, if you like this style of video, let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit the notification, and I'll see you again next time. Peace.